My name is Christine, and thank you for joining me in my podcast called Unmuzzled at 67. Here we are, Series 3, and this is Episode 2. Series 3 is called The Unravelling, and this episode is called Into Action. So welcome. Thank you for choosing me. You have so many podcasts to choose, and the fact that you chose me is huge. Thank you very much. It's great to have your company. Usually at this time, I do a kind of recap of what I was talking about last week. So that's what I'm going to do. So last time I was talking about the character traits that had impacted me for most of my life. And those were overthinking. So, you might think to yourself, well, most of us overthink at some time or another, especially if you're under pressure or, you're feeling pretty stressed. You can kind of automatically go into that overthinking, over-planning thing. But what if you do that all the time? That changes it. Knee-jerk reactions was a constant thing for me from being young. Just never thought anything through, never paused, never thought, wait a minute, need some time to think about that. And in general, I had very little control over my emotions. And I had no filter. So I often said the wrong things to the wrong people, and I often caused offence, and I often had to apologise for my behaviour. I realised as well through watching a video of Joe Rogan that I had no emotional resilience, which means that I just couldn't cope with life's ups and downs. I didn't know there were life's ups and downs. And when there were any downs, I just couldn't cope. I just went into drama mode and shouted and what's going on and, just made a whole thing out of something that was pretty ordinary to most other people. And I was oversensitive. I would take the nip at the slightest thing. So as I've said before, my life was like Groundhog Day. Same mistakes again and again, and never learning from these mistakes. And there is no doubt that as I got older, these traits definitely got worse. So let's continue to delve into what actions I took to get a better quality of life. So if you're sitting comfortably, then I'll begin. They say the first step to self-improvement of any kind is self-awareness. I would describe myself as, for most of my adult life, a self-observer. Watching myself, watching my behaviour, not understanding it, of course, but I did keep an eye on myself and I was able to do that. But I also think you need to add to that, for me anyway, a ruthless self-inventory and honest, brutal reflection. And these are harsh words that are words that definitely are in my vocabulary, but they're to remind me that don't cut any corners. When you're looking to make changes, you have to look at your previous behaviours. You have to look at how you were before in order that you know what changes you've got to make. So for me, being brutal, not cutting any corners at all, and having to face yourself, which is hard. And for a lot of people, maybe would say, oh, I can't be fucking bothered with that. I'm just going to carry on. But for me, no, it had to be done. And it was, I'm not going to lie, it was really painful. It was hard to face up and to confront past behaviours of a lifetime and taking responsibility. And that just was not easy to digest. So I'm going back to this again. So bear with me. My belief for me is that the overheard conversation that was detailed in Series 1, Episode 1, caused a trauma in me that stopped my emotional growth, which meant as an adult, I was going through my life with the emotions and the emotional control of a 12-year-old. That's my belief, based on my own research and extensive reading of books. This is what I believe to be true for me. So what does unresolved trauma look like in an adult? Here are some examples for you. Anxiety, depression, suicide, alcohol or drug dependency, relationship difficulties, self-destructive or risky behaviours, feeling disconnected, feeling unable to relate to others, struggling to control emotions, and in a constant state of high alert. So if you've followed the podcasts, if you've followed Series 1 and Series 2, you will have seen quite a few of those behaviours played out. And if you haven't, you have certainly heard me talk about how I felt disconnected. I didn't feel I was part of the human race. I felt completely out of sync, and I found it impossible to trust people or even to get that close to people, with the exception of a few. So now I'm trying to find out, how can I help myself? What can I do? And if you remember, this all happened to me when I was 60, because I just decided I couldn't be a BAM going into as a pensioner. I just couldn't do that. I deserved to find, even at this late stage in my life, I deserved to find peace and tranquility and just to live a normal life. So first of all, I wanted to slow down my thinking. That seemed the right place to start from. And if you know me at all, if you watch any of my podcasts or know me personally, I am a massive fan of meditation. And I talk about it quite a lot because for me, of all the actions I took, and I took many, not just meditation, to get myself on track for a better quality of life, but meditation was the first thing, the first action I took, and it caused the biggest positive impact. You might remember too that I learned to meditate on a cruise. In fact, TFC, that fucking cruise. And it was taught by the entertainments manager, not with an app, not in a class led by a meditation teacher, not by a monk, but it worked for me. 15 minutes a day, 8 weeks. That is what you need to do to get to start to feel any positive effects. So if you Google benefits of meditation, of daily meditation, here is what you're going to find. It regulates emotions. It builds skills to manage stress, reduces negative emotions, increases patience and tolerance. For me, 100%, I had none of those things. I have plenty now. It lowers blood pressure, improves sleep quality. Again, a massive thing for me. I could actually be a professional sleeper. If there ever was a job for somebody to sleep, I'm in. I have fantastic sleeps now and quite long sleeps due to practice and meditation. And it also helps to focus on the present. Who wouldn't want more of that, whether you're a BAM or not? And here are some medical facts about meditation in case anyone still thinks it's a bit, it's a bit 80s, it's a bit hippies. Honestly, meditation is mainstream now. You would be surprised who uses it. Meditation is shown to thicken the prefrontal cortex of the brain. This is a part of the brain that manages concentration, awareness, decision-making, and memory. With meditation, these functions become stronger. Meditation can help to calm down your nervous system, and mindfulness meditation can increase cognition, memory, and attention. Now, I am not an expert on meditation. Clearly, from the way that I got my training, I don't know about all the different types of meditation. I mentioned mindfulness because that's the one word that seems to be used all the time. And mindfulness just really means keeping your thoughts focused on the present moment. That's a very basic description of it. But I don't know all the different types of meditation. I can't give any advice. I can only know that for somebody who learned it on a fucking cruise by an entertainments manager, I think, my God, imagine if I'd learned this in a proper class, what would I be experiencing now? So I can't talk about other types of meditation. I would just say to you, find the one that works for you, because that's what I did. I'm going to just give you a wee example of what I do, because sometimes I forget to talk about that, because this just works for me. You know, I'm a simple person. I just like to keep it simple. All I do is sit down on a seat like this, or usually on my sofa, feet in the floor. I have my phone. I select a meditation music from YouTube. Usually I choose one that includes brain cell repair, because I think for somebody like me that is fucking absolutely needed. So that is my go-to. But there are thousands of meditation music you could choose from. I don't like the ones with the Tibetan bells, because sometimes I'm just kind of relaxing and the bell goes ping and I sort of wake up again. So that's maybe not the one for me, but there are thousands that you can choose from. So I choose that. I put the timer on my phone for however long I want to meditate. Normally it's 15 minutes. Sometimes I try to have a kind of routine where I do one at 12 o'clock and I do one at 6 o'clock. And if I only do one, I'll be quite happy. If I do two, I'm really happy. So 15 minutes, if I do that twice a day, that's half an hour. So then put the music on, take my glasses off and just sit back and I relax. And from there, I breathe in through my nose, eyes closed, breathe in through my nose, and breathe out through my mouth. And I do breathing kind of exercises at the same time. But that's not relevant. The most important thing is to focus on your breathing. And if your mind starts to get cluttered with, oh God, I need to go out my shopping. Is that it raining? I better get my washing in. All those things, you simply just dismiss that and go refocus again back to your breath. That's it. So, you know, it takes a while, you know, to get some of that crazy busyness in your head to kind of stop. I'm at the stage now, because I've been doing it quite a long time, when it doesn't take long for that to stop. And there are some times where I just don't get any intrusive thoughts. But believe me, it's taken years and years for that to happen. But certainly I know for a fact that after the first 8 weeks, I definitely felt a difference enough to continue. So remember, it's free. You can do it anytime. For me, I can do it anytime it suits me. And it definitely has played a big part in helping my overthinking and calming down my thinking generally. In fact, from that list of benefits that I've just read, I have and still experience all of them. Let's just, for general interest, look at some of the companies who endorse and use meditation in their workplace. Some even have meditation rooms for staff to use and benefit from. So yes, most are in America, as you probably are thinking. Yahoo, Google, Apple, Nike, Deutsche Bank, and Procter & Gamble. Just some that come up on Google. Now me, I'm a big fan of the late Steve Jobs. Just loved everything he did. He's so clever, so way ahead of his time, so confident. And of course, a downside was a bit aggressive, a bit difficult to work for. But he was a passionate advocate of meditation personally. And from the beginning, when Apple opened, he made it a common practice in the workplace, and that still continues today. And guess what? Even the special forces are using meditation now. And wait till I tell you this. They use meditation to help improve their troops become more effective killers. Didn't expect me to say that, did you? Because you can have a laser-like focus. You have an ability to keep your mind in the present. You know, they say that if your mind starts to wander, you know, or if your breathing isn't right, you can't shoot properly. I'll leave that up for you. That's what I found in Google, but you know, you can make your own mind up about that. And as well as that, what you probably expected me to say was it does boost recovery time for combat-related stress. So I just wanted to let you know that this is becoming more and more mainstream, which is a brilliant thing. However, I think it can be very helpful to examine some of your past actions, as I said earlier, to learn from them and move on. If possible, with no guilt, no ruminating, because rationally, those serve no purpose whatsoever and they just fry your brain. Who needs that? So you can see why I'm all in. It definitely works for me. And when I compare what I used to be to the person I am today, there is a big improvement. So me and meditation made friends on that fucking cruise, TFC, and I just stuck with it and experienced every single benefit. But like any action taken to improve yourself, be it physically, your body, you want to lose weight, you want to get fit, or your mind, you need to be in it for the long haul. There's no magic wand. And as the gorgeous David Goggins says, there's no fucker coming to help you. So I needed to make the decision to make this happen, to make the changes that made a positive impact in my life. And no, I didn't create a new Christine process to make lasting change. Absolutely not. Why would I? I just Googled it. What do you do if you want to change your mindset? Let's go with Google. I also did a lot of personal research and I read a lot of books. And I tapped into people like, a great person to tap into is Tony Robbins. I'm a massive fan of Tony Robbins. He's been on the go for years and years, and he does great videos on changing mindset. So if ever you want to look at it in a bit more detail, a bit more professionally probably would say, he's the man to go to. He's my go-to anyway. So as I say, I just Googled it and benefited from what the experts say. I read books. And I also drew on my own experience of what I had done in the past. In fact, during my whole life, when I had to make big decisions. And I've had to make some big decisions if you've watched this podcast through my life. One of them was that I lost 6 stone in weight. One was that I stopped drinking and I got myself to AA. I managed to stop smoking. I started smoking when I was 11, just going into secondary school. And I was part of that group of people that stopped at the sweetie shop, they would be called then, where you would get fags and sweeties. And you would ask for a penny single and a match. So in those days, you could actually buy 1 cigarette. So you could buy 1 cigarette and 1 match. So then you would go up the nearest close, strike your match against the wall, and if it was a windy day, you were screwed. You had to ask somebody for a light. But if it wasn't, and then you lit your cigarette with that. So that's how I started smoking. And I used smoking to substitute meals, particularly during very stressful jobs when there wasn't time to eat. And I also used it to control my weight. But when I was, I think, 32, maybe 33, when I just had my son, I stopped smoking then. So I've been a non-smoker for many, many years now. But the point that I'm making is that I had to make some quite big decisions. And again, in my 40s, I made big decisions to get myself healthy, to get myself really, really fit. And I did that. So through exercise, healthy. All of those were life-changing. Because they remain in my life today. I'm just a little bit heavier than I was when I was 22 or whatever I was when I lost weight. I've never gained weight over the years, except when I was pregnant, and lost it right away after that. I've never gone back to drinking. I've never gone back to smoking. So I know that if I make a decision and it's a big one, I can stick to it. I seem to have that ability to do that once it's made. How do I do that? Well, this is how I do it. I get to a point where I say to myself, enough. I cannot do this anymore. That's the trigger. Once I say that, that works for me every single time. That's the point I seem to need to get to for things to change in my brain, and it's like me and my brain have now made the decision, this is going to happen. And I know when I've reached that point, there's no going back. This is the signal that my mind is made up and I'm on the case. And as I say, I have experienced lasting results once I get to that point. And then actually I start to feel quite excited to tackle whatever the problem is. As far as changing mindset is concerned, this is the most challenging of all. I mean, I have to say that it's a big thing to even talk about, to look at changing thoughts and behaviours that you have had me for more than 40 years that are ingrained into my personality. So it was a big task to take on, but I refused to be put off by that. I wanted peace and tranquility, and I wanted to be a normal person more than anything else. And the thought of experiencing a new way of thinking and being, and to work towards being rational and having peace in my life kept me going, and it still does. If I know something can be done, then I say to myself, okay, I'll do it then. And as I always say, I'm a work in progress, and I probably always will be. And I'm fine with that. As long as I'm improving, as long as I stick to my tried and tested approaches that work for me, I'm fine with that. The meditation is really the subject for today, and it alone, as I say, had the biggest impact. But there are others that I will talk about in future podcasts. And of course, there are many ways that people choose to make big changes in their life, or just making positive changes. A lot of people focus on physical exercise, and it's well documented the huge mental health effects that starting to exercise really can have. Ice baths and cold water swimming are a big thing now. Over the last few years, that's just exploded. And everybody who does that will tell you the incredible benefits mentally as well as physically there are to that too. But what I'm sharing with you over these next podcasts are the actions that I took to change my thinking and behaviour that continues to work for me today. I continue to strive to be the best version of myself, to speak the truth, to be authentic, to do what's best for me, to put my own well-being first. That is a new thing for me. And to stop fucking facilitating people. That is a big thing that I'm glad to be rid of. And replacing old habits with new. That's the simplicity of it. So some of the examples of what we're going to be talking about in the future are journaling, establishing a morning routine, deep breathing exercises, daily affirmations that help to change thought processes, and they replace old, established thinking with new positive thoughts. That's a very powerful thing to do. And again, you can do that anywhere. My daily walks in the park, unless it's pissing, you know what I mean? I'm not going out on that. But as long as the weather's decent, I'll go out. Daily exercise, courtesy of Joe Wicks for seniors. Although, if I'm honest, I have to say I've kind of had to give that a bye just now because I'm waiting for this hip replacement and I'm kind of, very limited in what I can do. However, yoga starts next week and I've got high hopes for that. And something I do regularly as well, sometimes more than once a day if I can, is I watch and I listen to inspirational speakers on YouTube. That's a big thing for me. And it's a wee bit addictive because once I watch one, I feel as if I've got to watch the next one as well. And always I feel so much better. So my go-tos for that are Steve Harvey, Tony Robbins, the master David Goggins, of course, and Joe Rogan, who does some incredible inspirational videos. And yes, I did try therapy and I found it helpful. We will talk about that. And yes, I will talk about finding self-esteem and self-worth and how I worked on that. And ADHD. That is also what I will always be working on. So lots more to come. Please join me again next week to talk about what I did to build a better, happier life for myself. Thanks for joining me today. It's been brilliant as always to have your company, and I look forward to seeing you next time.